Hello, hello. I have a thought for the day. And this is, I think, our final reading from Dance of the Dissident Daughter by Sue Monk Kidd. And this is a story of someone who's trying to reestablish her inner authority. And so she's discovering the divine feminine. So we all need to reestablish inner authority. So she begins. I'm reading from page 136. She begins. I was aware that Jewish and Christian theologians point out that God is genderless. The ultimate ground of being, the divine one, is neither male nor female. Anne E. Carr says, no image or symbol is an adequate picture of God. In the Bible, God names God saying, I am that I am. The absolute being simply is. It participates in the form or symbol. It is in or behind the picture, but it always transcends them. The question then occurred to me, well, if that's so, if the divine is ultimately formless and genderless, then what's the big deal? Why all this bother? The bother is because we have no other way of speaking about the absolute. We need forms and images. Without them, we have no way of relating to the divine. Symbol and image create a universal spiritual language. It's the language the soul understands. And yet, and here was the crux, the images that have pervaded our speech, thought, and feeling about the divine have told us the divine is exclusively male. They have told us there's only one form, and that form is masculine. Indeed, the image, the language, and the metaphor of God as male has been used so exclusively for so long, about 5,000 years now, that many people seem to believe that God really is male. McFaig points out that when only one image is allowed to serve as the grid for speaking about God, it becomes idolatrous. It comes to be viewed not as a symbol, but as fact, as an actual description. I had read Paul Tillich's work years before and accepted his view that the transcendent always transcends every symbol used to describe it, that a symbol may point to God or participate in the reality of God, but that God cannot be identified as that symbol. Tillich pointed out the tendency of religions to substitute symbols for the divine itself, which he then referred to as a tendency toward idolatry. As I spilled these thoughts across the pages in my journal, I recalled a story a woman had told about her 6-year-old daughter. The child, freshly home from Sunday school, was reporting to her mother what she'd learned that day about God. Over and over, she referred to God as He. Her mother asked, "Why do you say He, Ashley?" "Well, because God is a man, Mommy." "But why is God a man?" Ashley thought a moment and then said, "I guess because God thought that was the best thing to be." There's something infinitely sad about little girls who grow up understanding, usually unconsciously, that if God is male, it's because male is the most valuable thing to be. This belief resonates in 1,000 hidden ways in their lives, and it slowly cripples girl children, and it cripples female adults. The second thing I wrote down that day was that exclusive male imagery of the divine not only instilled an imbalance within human consciousness, it legitimized patriarchal power in the culture at large. Here alone is enough reason to recover the divine feminine, for there's a real and undeniable connection between the repression of the feminine in our deity and the repression of women. Mary Daly's famous statement now never seemed more true. If God is male, then male is God. The fear of and resistance to feminine images goes deep. I knew that from my own experience with those feelings. I'd spoken to women who could not say the word goddess without whispering, laughing nervously, or looking over their shoulders for the lightning bolt that a jealous father God was bound to aim at them for daring such a thought. I'd seen people stomp out of a worship service when prayers were said to Mother, Father, God. The fear and resistance were evident too in those who refused to consider her at all. I remembered the time I discussed this fear and resistance with a minister who was genuinely interested in creating inclusiveness in his church. He thought we should forego recovering divine feminine images and more directly or move directly toward abstract androgynous images. We should neuter the language and symbol of the divine. He said we should use only the word God, not Father, or He, or His. But the word God does not register in us as neuter, I said. Technically, it may not imply any particular gender, but what registers and functions in the mind is male. As McFaig says, androgynous terms only conceal androcentric and male assumptions behind the abstraction. How many times have I heard someone say, God is not male, He is spirit? The minister looked at me. Well, then where does that leave us? I think it leaves us in the position of finding ways to speak of the divine equally in female as well as male terms, I said. He looked at me with alarm and dismay as his own ambivalence about the feminine surfaced. Oh dear, he said. The oh dear reaction is common. It's the uh-oh, what will they think? How can it be done? Questions that surface inside. But that day in my study, I came to a new sense of the urgency and importance behind it. I felt in my bones how crucial it was, oh dear response or not. When I closed my journal, it seemed as if a gate that had been open only a few inches had suddenly been flung wide. I made a decision. I would not limit my quest. I would go through the gate with what Zen Buddhists call beginner's mind, the attitude of approaching something with a mind empty and free, ready for anything, open to everything. I wouldn't tell myself things like, oh, don't think like that. Don't approach that. Don't explore that. Don't say that. Don't go there. I would be Eve, opening her eyes on creation for the first time. I would give myself permission to go wherever my quest took me. So as you go through your day today, think about all the ways that we have lopsided our culture, lopsided our consciousness, leaving out not only the women, but the children, leaving out Mother Nature, leaving out the earth, all the animals. What happened to the community of life? It needs to be restored. Think about that and have a wonderful day.